Welcome to Facebook Live. Today's topic is going to be banking on swimming. So thank you for joining us. As always, I'm Tori and I'm joined today by John.
How y'all doing?
So as always, the most important things to remember, the most valuable things that we possess are ideas and the time to carry them out. And as you can imagine, and as usual, what we're trying to do here is give you the ideas so that you can really use the time that you have available to you. The series that we do is designed to give you the information that you need to accelerate your ability to perform now and prepare you to get in the water. And today's topic is definitely geared toward that exact thing. So as usual, we have some supplementary topics that we would recommend that you go to our Discovery Center to take a look at after the presentation today. So again, fluidmechanics.net, and then you go to the Discovery Center. What we're recommending today is two different topics. Number one, the three pigs, and number two, global versus local energy systems.
And those are great topics too. I think they're really very interesting.
And then, as usual, what we want to do is orient ourselves to where we are as far as the cornerstones of performance. So today is actually going to be an energy systems topic. We're really going to be talking about the in-water training that we can do to prep ourselves and all that fun stuff. So, John.
Great. Nice to see you all today. We're going to start off with our FM story time. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a story that's going to play into what it is that we're going to be working on today. So years ago, when I was 14 or 15 years old, I remember I had a friend of mine that was, he was a very, let me see here. He wanted to do something kind of in the summer for summer work. We lived in a fishing village. And so he got this job, and you can see his job was the one that's on top here. Whoops, that was on top here. He was parking cars, and it actually looked a little bit like it, but in behind there, you'd actually just see, you know, boats and water and things like that. So, so anyway, so let me just grab this really quick. And so
anymore. Go ahead and share again.
Did I stop sharing? Sorry about that. I tend to do that, guys. Let me see if I can get it so it shares here really quick. Where's my sharing? It's not sharing for some reason. There we go. Thank you, Tori. There we go. Yeah, I tend to do that sometimes. So.
Perfect.
There we go. That's better. There we go. So anyway, so and I'll try to get this into full screen mode for you. There you go. So anyway, so it kind of looked a little bit like this, where they have a parking garage. So he would go in, and he came over to me and says, you know, John, you should really get this job that I have. And I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm parking cars. And he says, it's easy. You don't have to spend a lot of time. It's nice and easy. Don't take a lot of time training. And he says, you make a lot of money. People give you big tips, and you can get, have a nice, easy, heavy job, we get a lot of money. And I said, I'm not sure if I want to do that. I said, kind of the easy road gets harder in life, and the hard road gets easier. Now, I picked swimming like you guys picked swimming, and I congratulate you on doing that, because that's not the easy road. And I found that in the job that I took. So the job that I took was down here. And I became a helper. So I wasn't actually doing what the guy in the white shirt is doing here, which is actually building the wall. I was the guy that mixed the cement for this wheelbarrow. And I was a helper. So I wasn't doing these. And I remember, so that was the job that I took, which was, I think, much more difficult. And it took a lot more effort to do than parking cars. And it took a lot more training to do. And I was learning as an apprentice to be able to do this. And I could tell you, we used to lift like big buckets of cement and have to carry them up, a couple levels. And we'd have to, you can see here, we're building a seawall. And if you take a look at how big those rocks are, we would have to physically, by hand, move those rocks into place. And so one day we went down, and I'll never forget this. We went down and we were on the seashore, like you see here, and we couldn't get the normal mixer. There was a small mixer that we used to use to mix up the cement. And they said, John, I'm sorry, but today we can't get it down in the backyard where we need it to be. So instead of having you mix it up here at the road and then bring it down because they don't want us to mix it at the road, you're it. And I said, what do you mean you're it? And he says, you're mixing by hand all the cement today. You see all the cement that they're putting in there? I mixed all that by hand for all those guys. And so that wheelbarrow is something that I would bring down to them. So I would mix that, and I did about 34 wheelbarrows full. Now, if you've ever mixed cement, just one wheelbarrow full to mix that up is very, it's very rigorous. I did 34 that day. I remember when I used to do this job, I'd eat a lot. I love to eat anyway, and I would eat a lot. So I would my mom would help me the day before, and we would make sandwiches. And I would make, and she together would make between 8 and 12 sandwiches. And I'd have 2 of them for the 15-minute break, 2 of them in the afternoon 15-minute break. And I would have somewhere between, around 6 to 8 sandwiches for lunch. And then I'd fall asleep dead for about a half hour. They'd wake me up and go back to work. So this was an interesting learning experience. Working with those guys, they were so good at what they did. I worked with the best stonemason in the area, and you learn so much. He was such a great boss as well. He'd never do something, he'd never have you do something that he wouldn't do himself, right? If he had the time. So you felt great about what you were doing. And I got a huge amount out of that. I probably didn't make as much money that summer as the guy that friend of mine that was parking cars. But I can tell you this, I developed an asset, and that asset has played my whole life from what I learned there, along with other experiences, which was, the ability to work hard and continue to work at whatever it is you're focusing on, and you gain a huge amount of respect when you're working like that for yourself. Okay. So let's head on into banking on swimming, where you are, again, we're going to gain a different perspective on your work, right? So again, a lot of times the hard road gets easier, whereas the easy road sometimes gets harder, because if you take a job to learn and develop versus just taking a job to gain money, everybody needs money. What you get out of that experience in that job should be much more valuable than the money that you got. Money is only one layer of what the benefits that you reap from what you do. That's why swimming is such a unique thing to do, because the easy thing is to go home after school, sit down on a couch and watch TV and eat chips. But you guys have changed and took a different pathway. I don't think anybody that was just not into progressing in life is going to choose swimming for a long period of time right? This is going to be somebody unique, somebody that's willing to put in the work and see the returns. Okay, so we're going to gain a different perspective on our work today. Find out how to create assets. And some of these assets are hard work, right? How you treat others, how you gain a return, things like this. And then I want to show how, right, and learn how to put your assets to work for you so you can get more back from your effort. We don't want to live a minimized life where you have very, very little. We want to, right? You don't want to live the minimum. You want to max out your life and do incredible things. Before you leave this earth, you want to do what you came for, right? And you have to decide what that's for. So let's find out how to do that. So I was talking to someone a while ago, another friend of mine, and she said to me, she said, John, I'm investing. She's so excited. I said, oh, you're investing. How are you what are you doing? Oh, well, my company is allowing me to put money in to a retirement account for the first time. I said, oh, that's great. I said, so what are you putting it into? I don't know. She says they gave us a list of, things to pick. I said, okay. So do you know what you were picking? Oh, they were just names. I asked somebody else who they invest in, one of the other companies, and they told me what to do. And I said, well, what do they know about investing? Well, I don't know. I said, so you're putting your money in, and what do you expect to do? She said, well, really simple. You put your money in, and when you retire, you got all this money. Great. So what are you putting your money into? Oh, some funds. They said it was funds. Okay, great. So I said, now how do you monitor it, whether it's growing or not? Oh no, she says, you just at the end, right, you look at it when you're done, when you're ready to retire, and you have all this money. I said, well, I want to congratulate you on starting to invest, but guess what? What happens down the road if something goes wrong? Will you know? I said, when are you going to look at it and monitor it and find out? Oh, no problem. She said, I look at it when I'm ready to retire. So she thinks that what she puts in is investing. But investing is a process, right? It's not only what you put in. Remember back here, what I put in versus what he put in. But it's also what you get out. And the real thing is what's called the return. What's the difference between what you put in and what you got out? That's what your return is. Look over here. What did he put in? Not much. What did he get out? A little money. What did I put in? A lot of hard work, got a little money, but I got out a huge thing to carry for the rest of my life. In swimming, it's not the easiest thing, right? You put in a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of understanding you're trying to develop. What do you get out of it? And what's the difference between going home and sitting on a couch and coming back, right? And going and coming back with almost nothing. What do you learn from those, games that you play on a computer or the TV shows? Hopefully, if you're learning from and you're watching a show that you get a lot out of, because otherwise you're wasting that valuable time. And again, remember, it's your ideas and your time to carry them out. And if you're not gaining those ideas, which I was doing here, you're not getting much out. And you don't gain the asset, right? So we need to gain assets. So now let's find out in swimming, right, how you can gain more assets. And the first thing we're going to look at is the basic process of 3 different systems. And these are financial systems. And then we're going to apply it to how we can get this out in our swimming. So we're going to go over 3 different systems, which I learned in a program that was absolutely phenomenal. It was by Robert Kiyosaki. And it was really neat. It teaches you about finance. And I'm not going to teach you all what he teaches you, of course, that's his course. But I just want to give you just a few interesting things that we can apply to what we do in swimming. Number 1 is understanding that you have 3 systems: poor, middle class, and rich. And here you have income and expense. Income is what you bring into your pocket. Expense is what goes out of your pocket. You have liabilities, which is where you own something that takes money consistently out of your pocket. So something you own that takes money out of your pocket and pushes it through expense. And then assets are something that you own that puts things back in your pocket, right? Back into income. So you can own, like, for instance, a house that you rent to others, and then it puts money back in your pocket. Okay, let's go to the first system, and it says the poor, right here, this is the poor system. They get income in, and the first thing they think of when they have that income is, oh my gosh, what can I buy with it? So income comes in and expense goes out. And they normally live kind of a flat life of income in and expense out, right? When we look at the next one, right, and they're kind of at one major financial calamity that'll destroy their financial capabilities. They don't use these. Let's look at the middle class. The middle class, a lot of times, right, they think that and they do this because a lot of times the bank will tell them your home is your biggest asset. I don't think so. I think your home is a liability. And they taught you that in this course. It was fantastic. So you get income in, and so they go from income into a liability. They take on debt, right? So they buy it with a credit card or something like this, but they don't pay the credit card off. So they're paying, right? They're constantly paying extra money to buy. Let's say they want to go on a vacation for $5,000, and they take it out on a credit card, and they pay monthly, and they keep paying the extra debt. Every month they pay their bill, right? And or they buy their car, and they take this loan, and it pushes it out like that. That's when you buy a house with a mortgage, right? It's a liability. Now, so that's income in and liability. So this one here, it's I to E, income to expense. In middle class, it's I to L. And then that passes through E because, right, I to L. So everybody's buying something. Watch what the rich do. Income in, then they buy assets. Who pay them back? And it just spins this way, right? So if you look at this, we have I to E. We have I to L. And we have I to A. I to A is a rich system where you're going to have, right, the things that you buy, like houses that you rent, things like that, are going to pay you back. That's an asset. It's called an earning asset, one that actually makes you money. Not like a set of golf clubs or something like that, right? Right? Now, let's pull this back a little bit. So if you give everybody more money, let's say you give them $1 million, right? If you give the rich person $1 million, they're going to spend it on an asset that's going to pay them back more. So the rich get richer. The poor, right? If you give them $1 million, they'll spend it. That's their system. And they're going to stay poor. And the middle class is going to flounder in debt because, income to liability, and they're going to take on debt, right? They're going to buy, a bigger house, something like this. They're going to take on more debt, and it's going to keep pulling out of their pocket. This is such a great lesson from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. I thought it was phenomenal. Now let's use it. And he's got so many more lessons, but this is just a great one, I thought. And it makes it really simple. So the rich get richer, the poor stay poor, and the middle class flounder in debt. Let's take a look at investing in your technique to try to get a return. All right. So first, you have what's called a deposit, right? And we're going to deposit. You're going to go in. Let's say you all of a sudden, let's use a pattern where you're trying to get what's called a high elbow commonly, right? And so I'm going to stop sharing for a second. So a high elbow, which a lot of people term it, we call it the paddle, but it's the same idea. This is the high elbow. So you're pulling like this. And instead of just pulling back like this and slipping, right, and not getting anything out of it, you go like this. You build your pressure field, and then you're going to push off of that pressure field. So that's a really important aspect of swimming right there. So that's going to be what we're focusing on. It's called A for arms, 2. That's the second phase. A2 is to gain that, right? You want to gain that relationship with your pressure field so you can push off it. You want to get on the front of it before you pull. That's in every stroke, okay? So let's go back and say, here we go, and I'm going to share the screen. And you're going to deposit that in slow mode in practice. So let's say you're swimming along in practice, and you do that slowly for the slow sets. You're depositing. But when are you going to withdraw? Right? You're not going to withdraw because you're never going to race in slow mode. right? So you're never going to take that back up, but it's a progressive step. So then you need to do that same technique once you're good at doing it slow in a moderate pace. This is how you build this asset, right? If you just try to go in and use it immediately in super fast mode where you're emotionalized, that's not going to work. It'll never work, generally, right? So you're depositing in practice, not only in slow, but now in moderate mode. That's a progressive step. You don't withdraw because you never race in moderate mode, because that wouldn't be racing. You're then going to deposit in fast mode, right? In practice. So slow, moderate, and fast. So you're starting to build up that A2 capability, and you're moving progressively faster and faster. You're taking progressive steps. But when you're going to withdraw is in super fast mode. Now, a lot of people, they'll go and they'll deposit until they get to super fast mode. Now, super fast mode means it's emotional. So, right, you're emotionalized, you're attacking practice, but right, you're really excited about what you're doing, and you're like going after it in practice. Now, if you don't deposit that technique in super fast mode, how can you withdraw it? It's like going to a bank and saying, hey, I didn't deposit any money in this account. Can I withdraw from that account? I don't think they're going to let you withdraw from an account you didn't fill up. So you're going to need to deposit in practice in super fast mode the things that you want, right? So we're going to want, and I'm going to show you exactly what we want in practice and what we're trying to take away from it, right? So we're going to deposit and then we can withdraw. Don't deposit, can't withdraw during a race. The only place you're going to withdraw in a race is an emotionalized super fast mode. That's it. No matter what event, you're going to be emotionalized. If you're doing the 1500, you're going to be emotionally invested if you're going to do well in it. Okay, so let's go down here and look at the three. When you're training with your team, with your coach, this is one little tiny piece of understanding that's in our FM Energy Systems program. We give you all kinds of assets on training. They're huge, really important assets on training. So let's start talking about the first one. We're going to have 3 energy systems, and this is really important. Remember, we want to gain assets. We want to understand. That's what I was doing, right? I got a lot of understanding, right, in that job that I did, right? The other guy, I don't think he got much understanding of maybe not how to not scratch a car or something like that. But in my job, I got a lot of understanding of many different aspects of work when I was doing that stonemasonry. So here we are. Let's gain this understanding. When you go into practice, you need to understand this. If you don't understand this, you're just going back and forth in the pool. And you need to do more than go back and forth in the pool, because people are going to compete against you. And I know that they're going to know this because we're teaching them right now. So let's take a look at this. So when the first piece, and I'm going to relate so you understand this to financial resources. So your explosive system is for quick bursts, like leaping, right? Like leaping off the wall, leaping off the block, right? Things like this, or the big kick at the end of the race, right? So we were really like attacking at the end of the race. Now you need to train these if you're going to use these. Don't train them. You can't use them because you never deposited. How can you withdraw? Okay, so this explosive system is like having savings in your account. And so, in other words, if you need money, you go to the bank. If you've got savings, you withdraw it and use it. The system's quick, right? But it doesn't last very long, right? The savings, right? You can go through savings quick. So the next step, right? That's the explosive system. So your explosive system won't last very long. You can't use it the whole race. You can't use it all practice, but you need to train it to get better and expand its capabilities. Not only in quantity, like how long it lasts, but in quality, how much it gives back. That would be an asset that you'd be building during workout. And you can ask your coach, how do I build my explosive system for quick bursts? How do I do that more? What do I do? Right? Or you can take our program and teach you everything about it. Next thing is the lactic acid system, right? That's like taking a loan from the bank. You need the money relatively quickly, but it leaves a residual that you have to pay back, right? You got to repay that loan. The residual it leaves is called lactic acid. It gives you speed. So it's not quick burst, but it's speed. It lasts a little longer, actually quite a bit longer than the explosive system, but it leaves lactic acid, and that causes fatigue. So you want to expand how long that will last, and you want to expand how much that will give back. So you have more speed, and you also get that speed for a longer period of time. If you don't train, you don't get that. So don't train it. You can't use it because you didn't build the asset. So these are three very important assets that you should know very clearly when you go to practice. The third one is your endurance. So you need quick bursts, you need speed, and you need endurance, right? And that's called the oxygen system. This is like making money and working it off as you go. So in other words, it's like you're doing business and making enough money to pay for everything you need, and it's going to keep going and going and going as long as, right? As long as there's not a major setback, like things like that we're experiencing today, where that kills a lot of businesses because they're not open for business, right? So they can't make money sometimes. So this burns clean, right? It leaves no residual and lasts for a long time. So if I set you off, for instance, in an endurance run, I said, I want you to go run a marathon. And you got ready to leave and you left, right? And you came back after running this marathon. How much lactic acid, if I measured you in the beginning and then remeasured that in your blood system at the end, how much more lactic acid would you have in your body? And if your answer is no more, you'd be pretty close to right. You'd have no more lactic acid or very little, because that's not the system you were using for the marathon. You might have used it at the end a little bit, but there's not a lot of explosive motion. And there's not a lot of speed comparatively to like 100-yard race, if this makes sense. So let's go again. So the first one, explosive system, is like having savings in the bank. Boom, you can pull it out really quick. The lactic acid system, right, that's for speed. That's like taking a loan from the bank, which you got to pay back, right? And that's going to build up in your system. And then the last one is where you build your endurance. That's your oxygen system, right? And that's like you're working it off as you go, and it's much longer lasting because your business is now viable. You're not using up funds that you already had. So in that case, that's why everyone, right, no matter if you're a 50 swimmer, no matter what it is, you need to have this endurance. And so when your coach gives you a set that includes like 500s and things like that, that's when you're building endurance. And you want to be able, and there's other ways to build endurance as well. So that's why it's probably a good idea. Take our course on energy systems. If you haven't already taken it, you can get the welcome pack in there. When you're doing our FM Fast Track, there's welcome packs for all these things in there included in the package. Really worthwhile. But you want to understand when you go in there, you don't want to go back and forth in the pool. You don't want to park cars. You want to learn and develop, right? Understanding is a very important aspect of what you're doing in your swimming. Getting on your bathing suit and getting in the pool is a tiny piece of you becoming a high-performance swimmer. This learning and understanding your sport so you can use that to compete is a very important aspect of what you do. It's like going to your job every day and just doing the job versus digging in and getting great at it and becoming one of the best at what you do. And so you want to gain these assets as you go. And remember, assets pay you back, and they keep paying and paying and paying, right? Take a look. You want to build a rich system of assets that keep paying you back. If you're going back and forth in the pool, you're not building the assets unless you understand what you're trying to get out of it, and you can apply it for the rest of your swimming career, and you can help others with it, right? You don't want to gain bad information which are liabilities or misunderstandings, right? Because that will continue to, right? That's why it's important, the source of information. That's why I went to see Doc Councilman and swim for him, is because he had this wealth of knowledge of how to build swimming assets, right? And you certainly don't want to just go back and forth in the pool with a lack of information and hope someday you're going to become great at this. Because the people listening to this program, they're already building assets right now that will outweigh in a huge way against their competition. So this is really important to understand why you train the way you do, where you want to invest. And you want to invest in all these areas, but you're going to withdraw, and you don't want to come down to the last minute, right? Oops, let me see here. You don't want to come down to the last minute and say, you know, I don't know why I didn't make it, right? I was investing by just getting into the pool every day. I was investing. You know, if you want what everybody else has, do what everybody else does. But if you want something more, you have to feel differently, think differently, act differently, and you'll receive something different. So let's go down through here, right? And I'm going to show you a great tool that you can use, whether you're a coach or a swimmer, to understand where you need to focus more on these three systems. Okay, this is called our FM training plans. We have them for strength and in water. These are included for our fast track members, right, in their annual subscription. So it's all part of your program. I want to show you how easy it is to set up your in-water training plan. Ready? Here it is. So this is our in-water training planner. I'll just close this up so you can see. Here's your tools, right? And then once you go on your online tools, you just go down here, you find your training planners, you open them up. Okay, now this is how hard it is. I don't know if you can do it or not. Let's see. Ready? Let's take the 100 freestyle short course yards. And we're going to put in our start training date is 9/15/2020. And we're going to put in our target race date 3/15/2021, just for instance. And I'm just going to hit create the plan. I'm done. That's it. It tells me what days exactly to focus on my distance training, which is endurance, interval training, right? Endurance. So when I go into those practices, I know exactly what sets I'm looking for. Then it tells me repetition, where I'm building speed and I'm focusing on explosive, right? My explosive system. And right, that's the quick burst. And then sprint. And then it gives me my taper dates, so I know exactly what to do, right? I can also customize it if I want, recreate the plan, and I can determine what days I want to put in. But it's just that easy to do, right? Is to go in here, and I go in and I create my plan. That's that easy. And then I can email it to myself. Oops, if I take this off here, create the plan, there it is. Now, in addition, if I want to create my strength plan, boy, that's tough. Right here, look at this, strength. Done. Oops, there we go. Let me just click that again, sorry. There we go. There's the strength plan right there. And that dovetails your taper right there. Right? And you can even purchase strength, custom strength workouts, as well as energy systems workouts right here. If you're a coach, we design those worldwide for everyone. It's really easy. Anyway, so this is how easy it is. And this takes, if you're doing this on your own, it takes you at least, if you're an expert at it, it takes you about half an hour to an hour to get these all right and make sure that this just is so fast. It's crazy. Okay, got it. So that's what we have today. These are fantastic assets. One of the things that you do, again, when you're gaining assets, is gaining tools that you use that you can count on, that you know are going to work correctly, right? And this is the type of thing that you really want, that type of tool. Okay, so today we learned basically how to get more back from your effort. You want to gain a return. It's not just what you put in. It's not just what you get out. It's the difference between what you put in and what you get out is the asset, right, that you now can take away from there, right? And that's your return, okay? And so now you have a little bit of different perspective maybe on your work and what you want to choose to do. And when you choose a job or something, to choose it to gain development, right? You know how to create assets, right? And it's getting those differences between what you put in, what you get out, and how to put the assets to work for you. You want to have a plan, like I need to get this asset, right? Or I need to talk to someone to tell me what assets I need. Because if you're not collecting assets and you're going back and forth in the pool, you're not making a good investment, and the reason why is you wouldn't be a good investor. Become a great investor, gain tremendous assets, and do things with them all your life. Thank you.
So as John was mentioning, the tool that he demonstrated today is part of the FM Fast Track, which is a pretty extensive list of online tools that we've put together for everybody. It is available on our website. If you go to the URL, fluidmechanics.net/join-FM-fast-track, you can always email us at swim@fluidmechanics.net to get a link to that page, ask us any questions. The Fast Track itself is $129 per year for members. So that's a little over $10 a month.
You're like $10 a year, right? $10 a month. Wow. Okay.
Get access to all of those tools, as well as the trial sessions for our 3 educational topics, the brain, strength, and energy systems programs. So a lot of value packed into a pretty comprehensive package. So definitely go sign up and get access to that today.
And Tori, the college pipeline's in that too, is that right?
College pipeline's in that too. So college pipeline itself is literally a way for swimmers anywhere from 8th grade all the way through high school to jump in and see exactly what they need to do to be able to get to their college of choice. Figure out what that college of choice is, figure out what are the requirements, both as a student and as a swimmer, and exactly what they need to do through every step of the process, from anywhere to, you know, beginning their swimming program to getting into recruitment and then actually going to college.
And the reason why we included that, right? We have so many kids that go on from fluid mechanics to go on and swim in college. We're by far the top in the world of, you know, driving swimmers from, you know, they're wanting to go on to swim in college. And we use these tools to get them there. And so what Lisa Pizzuto, our regional manager here, had decided, she said, you know, we need a way, because we got so many kids that are trying to get to college, to guide them step by step through the process, because otherwise they're checking all over the place trying to figure out what are the NCAA rules for Division I, Division II, right? What do I do? And there's so much stress. And what this does is it removes the stress from our swimmers that want to go on and swim in college, to say, here's the easy way to do it. And they start at 8th grade. It tells you exactly what to do, how to get there. And if you get that many swimmers going there, you really need to get that done. So, you know, if you're planning on swimming in college, FM is definitely the place to be, because we help swimmers get there. That's what we do all the time. So, okay, great. Thank you, Tori. And then let me go ahead and actually, I think, next week's program, right?
Pretty much, yeah. So next week, we're actually going to be talking a little bit more about that pathway to swimming in college. We're going to be doing the presentation. It's going to be me and Lisa next week, and she's going to be taking us through, essentially, the college pipeline.
So she's actually the one that wrote it, right? That's great. Great. Okay.
So as always, thank you guys so much for joining us. Let us know what you thought. Let us know if you have any questions, and definitely get to the website, take a look at those Discovery Center topics that we recommended in the beginning, and get access to the Fast Track.
All right. It's great seeing you guys. Thanks very much for joining us.